You do everything right, pay on time, keep balances low, then your mortgage gets denied in 5 minutes flat. You pull your credit report and half the accounts aren't yours. Different addresses, late payments you've never made, a repossession you've never even heard of.
Hi, I'm Hugo Blankingship, and this is my partner, Tom Christiano. We help Virginians and D.C. residents fix credit reporting disasters every day.
And today we're exposing the nightmare called a merged or mixed credit file, how it happens, what it wrecks, and the step-by-step playbook to get your identity back on your own report. Now, Hugo, what is a mixed credit report?
A mixed credit report is when you have been, where the credit reporting agencies confuse you with somebody else. So they're reporting your information and somebody else's information at the same time. So sometimes your information might be on their credit report and their information might have merged onto yours. That's sort of the basic definition of a mixed merge file.
Right. It's exactly what it sounds like. The credit bureau has stapled parts of someone else's credit history onto yours. Not so much identity theft, just bad matching processes by the credit reporting agencies. Hugo, tell us about how the credit bureaus match data.
Well, they do it by looking at social security numbers, names, addresses, date of births, and they put that all into an algorithm, and then they make sure that the information matches. Now, sometimes it doesn't have a match, and sometimes it goes to what's called a frag file or a loaner file. And at some point, usually a debt collector or somebody is going to change that data, and then all of a sudden it might now merge onto your credit report. So it might take years before something that has been a problem actually merges onto your credit file. But it's still going to be there, and it's still going to be a problem.
Now, one mixed file case we had, Sarah from Vienna, had a near perfect credit profile. She was just out of college, and unfortunately, remember, a similar person's name caused a stranger's credit to appear on her credit file. Because of the mixed file, her credit score dropped over 100 points. Hugo, do you remember that case?
Yeah, I do. That one was kind of crazy. There was another girl that lived in North Carolina, and our client lived in Virginia. They had very similar names, and their social security numbers were 1 digit apart. I mean, they had an 8 for 9 match, and the 9th digit was like a 6 versus a 7. They were ridiculously close. And that way, the credit reporting agencies thought that they were the same people. But they had different dates of birth, they had different addresses, and they lived in different states. So they shouldn't have mixed them up, but they did. And once they did, it was a problem because the other Sarah, she didn't pay her bills on time.
Now, when our client first started looking at her credit report and getting involved, she thought she might have been a victim of identity theft. But here's what made it unusual. The accounts had been paid, some of them anyway, and they weren't fraudulent in the sense someone was using her information to open the credit, but it was another person's credit mixed up with this person's credit file. Right, Hugo?
Right. Now, the other Sarah didn't do anything wrong. She didn't have anything to do with this. She didn't get the credit reporting agencies to match her data with our Sarah's. That was just something, that was a mistake that was made by the credit reporting agencies. Now, consumers do, when they see a bunch of different accounts on their credit report, they think, oh my goodness, I might be the victim of identity theft. But one of the telltale signs is that there actually was a payment history on the accounts, because in most identity theft accounts, they're not going to be making any payments at all.
Now, when you dispute this information and try to get it removed from your credit report, instead of recognizing the mismatch, the credit reporting agencies have decided that the accounts are close enough, and so they have a hard time fixing it. And often, the only way they can fix it is they have to get on the phone and go line by line and compare the two credit files and sort out what credit goes with what person. Right, Hugo?
Yeah, and that's very time consuming. The problem is that most of the credit reporting agencies, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, they outsource this work to places like India and Chile and Costa Rica. You're not going to get somebody from there to even talk to you. So you're going to have to get somebody in the United States, and you're going to have to get somebody that's willing to sit down with you for about a half hour and go through trade line by trade line and delete and suppress the ones that don't belong to you, and keep the ones that do. And that's very difficult to find somebody that's willing to do that.
Right. And remember, our client did what the law told her to do. She called Equifax to dispute the accounts. She explained the errors. She pointed out the different address, even supplied proof of her own identity. But rather than taking that time that we talked about of going line by line to fix the mistake, Equifax just simply plugged her into the outsourced process with no meaningful investigation, no correction, and just a canned response that the information was verified.
And that's what they said. They said all the information belonged to her and they weren't fixing it. But she knew it was wrong. And it wasn't just one account. It was like 5 or 7 different accounts. It included some utility accounts and some other ones. And, she tried again to get them to fix it, and they didn't fix it. So what do we do?
Now, this is where the Fair Credit Reporting Act comes into play. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the credit reporting agencies have a legal duty to conduct a reasonable reinvestigation once a consumer disputes inaccurate information. Now, a reasonable reinvestigation doesn't mean just rubber stamping a creditor's data or not taking the time to go line by line to sort out the mixed and merged credit information. It means taking the time, going line by line, verifying identity, the social security number, address, and account history. And that's exactly what credit reporting agencies fail to do in mixed merge credit file cases. Now, Hugo, what are some of the signs to spotting a merge file?
Well, if you get all of a sudden a really big drop in your credit score, you know that there's a problem. So it could be identity theft and it could be a mixed merge file, particularly if none of this happens to belong to you. If you see some different names or different spellings, that's another good indication. If you see accounts that were open long ago, and are just now showing up on your credit report, that's another one. If you see addresses that aren't yours, that's a pretty good point. If you see employers on there that aren't yours, and if you see accounts that have been paid, but maybe paid late, but paid over an extended period of time, you're probably the victim of a mixed merge file.
Now, this is how I sort it out, Hugo. When someone calls our office in Reston or Virginia, consumer has a problem that I suspect it might be a mixed merge credit file, I actually take a look at the person's name, because I don't know if you've ever Googled your name, but a lot of people have the similar names or same names. This is how the data can begin to match anyway. So what I'll do is think about the person's name. If you're John Smith, you're probably going to have a problem with John Smith in New York, John Smith in Virginia, because the matching data isn't as robust as it could be, as we previously discussed. So the other thing I like to look for is I'll ask the consumer if their sibling has a similar name or a similar social security number, because a lot of times social security numbers are issued sequentially. So your brother or sister may have a very similar social security number to you. And in fact, some parents will name their kids similar sounding names. So you put a similar sounding name with a similar looking social security number, and that can be a recipe for a mixed or merged credit file, right, Hugo?
And that's particularly the case if you have a identical twin who tend to live very close to you, has a very similar name, has a similar social security number. I mean, those problems are understandable for a credit reporting agency to mix up originally. But once you call them and once you tell them this is what the problem, they have a duty to help you fix it. And if they don't fix it, then they're going to have a violation on their hands. And that's when you're going to need to talk to a lawyer.
That's a good point, Hugo. I was just thinking about another case we had. Nicole from Alexandria, who had a merged credit file with her identity thief, if you can believe that. She could not buy a home because the identity thief's bad credit got mixed up with her actual credit file. So you think about that. An identity thief steals your information, but then that person's information gets on your credit file. So not only do you have to recover from the identity theft, but you also have to recover from a mixed merge credit report.
Well, that one was a problem because the identity thief lived in Texas. Our client lived in Virginia. And the identity thief started mixing up the information and changing the addresses to her address in Texas. And that's what caused her other accounts that were not the result of identity theft, those to be mixed in with our clients. So now the client had the fraudulent accounts to clean up, and then she also had the ones that had come over as a mixed merge file. It was a mess, and it took us a long time to get that one fixed, but we did.
Right. And remember, inaccurate credit reporting can cause you to lose a home, a job offer, good financing over a debt that isn't even yours. By the time you realize you have this problem, the opportunity can be gone, especially in a competitive housing or job market like right now. Many times our consumers, they're trying to keep their security clearance, or they have an issue trying to get a mortgage, and they have this mixed merge credit file, and they just don't know what to do. What should a consumer do if they don't know what to do with the problem on their credit report, Hugo?
Well, I'd say the first thing I'd do is I'd call a lawyer that knows something about the Fair Credit Reporting Act and dealing with the credit reporting agencies, because they can help you work your way through this thing. You need to dispute it, and you need to dispute it accurately, and you need to dispute all of the accounts that aren't yours and explain it. And it's usually a lot easier if you contact an experienced lawyer like us, they can walk you through it, hold your hand, and help you draft those letters and make sure that they're appropriate. What do you think, Tom?
Well, you'd think that the credit bureau would go, oh man, my fault, and press delete, but that's not going to be the case.
No.
They're going to put you into their automated pipeline, and the bureau will send what's called an automated consumer dispute verification form at ACDV to the furnisher and say, do you see this account on the person's credit report? And the furnisher is going to check their records, may already be tied to your file because of the bad match, and reply verified. Round and round you go. What's the step-by-step playbook to solve the problem, Hugo?
Well, the first thing is you got to get a copy of your credit report. So you want to go to annualcreditreport.com. You want to pull all three, your Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You want to print them out. And then you want to go line by line. And you want to look at everything. And you want to look at the names, the addresses, the employers, and the accounts. What about another step, Tom?
Well, anything inaccurate that you notice, you need to dispute in writing and not just online. Make sure you send a certified letter to each of the credit bureaus that are reporting the information and make a numbered list of what the account is, why it isn't your account, and information related to yourself to compare. For example, your driver's license. Say, I live in Virginia. This account has an address in North Carolina. It's not my credit. Shouldn't be on my credit file. Hugo, what's another thing people could do?
Well, as I said, I would probably hire a lawyer first and do that, because when you get a mixed merge file, that is probably the most complicated problem you're ever going to have when it comes to credit reporting. So if you get some help, lawyers like us, we're going to help you for free. We're going to help you work your way through this thing. And if it turns out that they don't take it off, well, then we'll help you sue them as well.
Right. And you can't control the credit bureau's matching, but you can control your actions after you understand the problem that you have. Contact a lawyer, get copies of your credit report, talk to us. There's no charge to call us and speak to us on the phone and see what your problem is. Maybe it is identity theft. Maybe you have a mixed merge file. The truth of the matter is it can be complicated even for us after 20 plus years of experience looking at credit files. And it's been my experience that at least lately, the credit files seem to be getting longer and longer. So it's harder and harder for people to figure out what is on there and why it's reporting the way it is.
Now we're seeing credit reports that are 60, 70, 80 pages long. So, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. Now, a lot of that, the consumer, you're going to have to do yourself, because we don't know which accounts are actually yours and which accounts aren't. But once you do that, then we can help you through the complicated process of helping you draft a dispute letter and send it into the credit bureaus.
Right. And if you see an odd account that isn't yours, don't wait. Call a credit report lawyer specializing in inaccurate credit reporting today. When consumers call us, we know what to do. Mixed credit files and inaccurate credit reporting is not something a consumer should try and fix on their own. The credit reporting system is complicated. The rules, the law, the procedures, and the credit bureaus count on that complexity to discourage people from pushing back. So we'll take cases on a contingency fee basis, which means you do not pay us anything up front. We only get paid when we win. After building a strong record and forcing the credit reporting agency to finally take responsibility, we can get the error corrected and recover significant damages compensation. Hugo, what's the type of damages a consumer can get in a case like this?
Well, you can get your actual damages for all the pain and suffering that you went through to try to get it corrected. You can get emotional distress damages for all the concern and the lost sleep and those sort of things. You can get damages for not being able to obtain credit if you're trying to get a house or you're trying to buy a car, and they're going to charge you a lot more because there's a lot of fraudulent information on your credit report. So, and then you can also get what's called punitive damages, because they know what the problem is and they know what they're supposed to do, but they just don't want to take the time to do it. And you can get some very significant damages in the 7 figures, 6 figures. You can get some very large damages against these credit reporting agencies because they know what they're doing and they're not doing it intentionally.
That's why we're here in the D.C. and Virginia area, to make sure the credit bureaus are held accountable for the damages that they cause consumers like Hugo discussed. You need to know your rights and when to get help. The bottom line is that you have federal rights to accurate credit reporting and a reasonable investigation. And if a credit bureau isn't going to follow the law, just know that Hugo and I are here to help you out. Hugo, any other thoughts?
No, we've done this a number of times. We've had a number of clients that have these problems. We know how to figure out what it is and how it happened. And we'll walk you through it and we'll get the problem solved. We'll get it off your credit report, and then we're going to probably have to sue them for the damages that they caused you for not taking it off when they should have.
Right. So the bad news is that mixed and merged credit files can happen because of sloppy matches and names and addresses and accounts. They wreck your life real fast. So you need to learn to spot the signs and build your dispute packages so you can dispute in writing and get the information off of your credit report. Hugo?
If this has helped, hit the subscribe and like button, tell your friends, and share it. Someone in your circle is probably dealing with this problem right now.
And make sure you see our other video, Exhausted by Identity Theft. It can help you take the steps to recover from an identity theft nightmare.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.